Hey everybody, Dr. Dan here. Now to be fair, my doctorate is not in the sciences, but I do love our environment, and being a balloon guy, I learn a lot about what's happening in the environment and what's happening with balloons, and some of the news that you hear is really good and accurate news, but some of it's also really biased or slanted or sometimes just plain wrong. So I want to talk with you a little bit about balloons and how they fit into the big picture of things. Now the first thing you need to know is there are different types of balloons out there. Here's a few of the types that you may run across. One type you may run across is your foil balloon. I've got a stack of them here that I got from a conference, and you'll see they're wonderful and shiny, and they hold helium a really long time. You'll see these at grocery stores all the time. Sometimes you may see them plain. You may also see them with fun prints like thank you for watching my YouTube channel today. There are all sorts of fun foil balloons out there. Now, here's the challenge with these balloons. These balloons, they're not actually biodegradable, and they're not easy to recycle. So I'll admit out of the gate, I have a little bit of struggle with whether or not to use those balloons. So I don't use them too often. Now then, you've got some balloons around now that are more like bubbles. There's even some brands are actually called bubbles. Now these are a little more of a plastic balloon. They come up big and round. Advantages in the balloon world, they are very tough and they can last quite a long time with air in them. So in that regard, they're kind of fun. Problem is, again, right now they're kind of hard to recycle, and I hope that that changes over time. But to me, the challenge with foils and these more plastic type balloons is that they are a little bit hard to recycle. Now you're probably asking at this point, well, if balloons aren't great for the environment, why do you like them so much? Well, I do have hopes that the types of balloons I just showed you are going to get better. But also, I love the classic latex balloon, which is usually what you see. It kind of gets a bad rap. But here's the thing. When you use these latex balloons that you see all the time in a good brand, now note, if you get a cheap brand that's not all natural rubber latex, the environmental issues might be worse. But with an all natural latex balloons made by a good brand, these are actually biodegradable. Now it's about the speed of an oak leaf, which means, is it going to be gone in like 5 days like a banana peel or something? No. But within a matter of a few years, balloons break down, especially in the right circumstances. So are balloons a big environmental pollution issue? No. Not your latex balloons that you see most of the time. Now make sure that you're buying latex balloons that will break down, but there's a couple of brands that I like to use. I usually use Qualitex, and Qualitex balloons, their latex balloons, are biodegradable, which I love. There's a couple of other brands that are high-end brands that works. Vitalitex, their balloons should break down about like an oak leaf. And there's a brand that's recently come to the States, Jamar, and they break down pretty well. So you've got some options that do break down well. Now, I'm not telling you one way or another whether some of the off-brands you see at the store will, but I'm telling you, I'm not sure about those because I haven't used them as much and I haven't studied them as much. But let's talk about another issue that's been in the news, and that's balloon releases. There are a lot of events where people like the visual impact of, oh, we're going to release 50 or 100 or even thousands of balloons into the air at once. And it looks really cool while they're floating into the sky. And you've probably seen these, maybe you've even participated in these. And I'm embarrassed to say much of the balloon industry has been into these in the past. But most of the balloon industry now, the pros that I know, a big percentage of them are realizing, hey, this is litter. Even if it's a latex balloon that's going to break down, I'm not a fan of littering. And so balloon releases, they're not so great. Now, so I don't recommend a balloon release. Yes, you could use cotton string with a latex balloon and all of it will break down, but still, it's still litter. So why would I do that? Now, you'll also see along with balloon releases. Like recently there was a viral video where a woman had this big bundle of foil and some latex, all these balloons bundled together for graduation, and she released them into the air, and like 20 feet up they hit a power line, blow a transformer, and all the power in the area goes out. Oi, a balloon professional is going to know that balloons should be individually weighted if they're going to be used outside. This is actually the law in California, and most of the balloon industry, the real professionals, most of them know, okay, I need to individually weight my balloons. So that's one way you can tell, hey, am I getting balloons from a pro, or am I getting balloons from somebody who just picked up some balloons to make some extra money? Is, will they individually weight their balloons if they're going to be outside? Now, if that woman in the viral graduation video had had her balloons individually weighted, they would not have been able to float off into that power line. Because, yes, you've figured it out by now, these foil balloons, they're conductive, which means when they hit a power line, it can cause some real and significant issues that we don't want to mess with. Now, the other piece of this issue is helium. You might have heard lately about a global helium shortage. And I want to talk to you a little bit more about the helium shortage because some of that is blown up. But here's the deal. Is there a supply shortage of helium right now? The sad news is yes. We are behind on our helium production versus helium needs. Now, a big reason for this is the U.S. government has actually been the world's biggest supplier of helium for many decades. In the 1920s, the government started stockpiling helium for airships, which seemed like a good idea back then, but now nobody's trying to make any big flying airships with helium. And so the government has been getting out of the helium business. Their stockpile was in debt over time, and it was a massive stockpile, mostly mined in Texas, and the Texas helium is also about tapped out. So the global supply of helium, it's a little short now. It's not doing quite as well as it was. But here's the deal. Is the globe running out of helium? I would say the answer to that is no. Just a few years ago in 2017, there was a reserve of helium found in Tanzania that had 54 billion cubic feet of helium. Now, I think at current usage, I heard an estimate that we use something like 8 billion cubic feet a year, and that's just one reserve, granted a massive reserve. So are there reserves in the world? Yes. In fact, I've heard estimates that we've got enough helium in the globe for 150 years at current usage. Now, what's the problem with helium? Why can't we just reuse it? Well, sometimes it is recaptured and reused. I understand the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade actually recaptures their helium. Excuse me, I heard at one point they recaptured their helium and reused it. I've heard some other information now, so maybe you can research that and let me know. But it can be recaptured and reused in a lot of circumstances. Of course, we want to do this because some scientific fields need helium as well. And as much as I love floating balloons, I would not want helium to run out. So yes, there is a bit of a current supply shortage, which is actually on track to be fixed in 2 to 3 years as some new supply chains, some new mines get up to speed. Now, am I worried that we're going to run out of helium? Personally, I don't think it's going to ultimately be an issue because helium is one of the most common elements in the universe. Now, of course, the challenge with helium is, you guessed it, helium floats, which means helium rises up into the air, whether it's inside a balloon or outside a balloon, once it escapes the trap of the ground. So, we're going to have to find new ways to capture helium. Now, personally, because helium is so common, because we're improving our ability to mine it and to find it in other ways, we live in a world that's even talking about mining asteroids. And personally, I think in the next 150 years, it's not really going to be an issue finding new ways to mine helium. Helium's even a byproduct in the petroleum industry. It's just not financially worth it to them to capture it. So the helium is out there, and I don't believe that long term we're going to have issues with helium. So should we be conservative in the ways that are possible? Yes. Do I think we need to stop using helium in balloons? I personally don't think we're at that point. But my conscience is going to keep me paying attention to make sure that someday things don't change in such a way that I'm like, whoa, we really do need to stop this. So balloons are a lot of fun. Keep enjoying them. Keep in mind what balloons are good for the environment and what balloons are less good for the environment, and be thinking about exactly how you want to pursue your love of balloons. For my part, I am grateful that most of what I do are these latex balloons that I can use conscience-free. So I'm excited about that. Thanks for listening to my little YouTube video on the environment. If you enjoyed it, subscribe to my channel because I'm hoping to have more and more good stuff coming at you in the future. Take care.